we want you to tell us the truth and exactly what happened here. You've been thinking about this thing for the past 13 years.
I really don't know how she got all those injuries.
You are currently watching 70-year-old Frank Buschauer. For nearly 13 years, Frank has lived as a free man after the mysterious drowning of his wife, all until now.
A cold case murder that goes back 13 years has been solved.
Because over the course of a decade, detectives have pursued every lead, every witness, and every clue in the death of Cynthia Risco, and right now they are closer than ever to solving it, because the loose ends Frank thought he had tied up have come to bite him in the back.
Do you remember what that officer looked like?
No.
It was me.
I reached down and picked her up and saw her face. I knew she was dead.
In the early hours of February 28, 2000, police were called to an upscale home in South Barrington, Illinois, after a husband reported finding his wife unresponsive in their bathroom. When officers arrived, they found 47-year-old Cynthia Risco unresponsive in a bathtub. Her husband, Frank Buschauer, told officers he had discovered her like this, and by the time paramedics arrived, it was already too late. At first glance, the scene looked like a tragic household accident. A mother of a young child had apparently drowned during a late-night bath, and her husband appeared shaken as he tried to process what had just happened. With no immediate witnesses and very few obvious answers, the case was initially treated as an unexplained death. Heartbreaking, sure, but not necessarily criminal. Life moved on, years passed, and the investigation grew cold. But for one detective, something about that night never quite sat right. That detective was Bryant Hanezesco, then a rookie officer who knew there was something wrong about Frank's story, but couldn't really prove it. Nearly a decade later, the case was reopened on Bryant's request, after a fresh review of the evidence began to raise new questions about what had really happened inside that bathroom. The investigation continued for another couple of years, and eventually, in 2013, 13 years after the murder, detectives traveled out of state to speak with Frank again. But this time, the conversation would not end with him simply returning home. This interrogation marked the beginning of a long-delayed arrest and a renewed effort to uncover the truth behind a death that had been quietly waiting for answers for 13 years.
So, we might as well kind of just start from the beginning, you know? Let's go back. Let's take you back all the way to that day. Now, this happened 13 years ago. Do you know what the date was?
I called on February 28th.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, that's when I called. Early in the morning. I think it was around 2:30 in the morning.
Okay. 2:30 in the morning?
I think so.
All right. So, February 28th, 2000.
2000.
Okay. That's when this happened.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Worst day of my life.
Yeah. I can imagine. Very traumatic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, how long were you guys married?
We were married about 3 years and 3 months, right around that time.
Okay. Yeah. I know I've talked to a couple of people, but how did you initially meet Cynthia?
We were in a dating service. It was called Heart to Heart.
Okay.
And we met that way. She actually was the one that initiated the contact with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then back then, you guys weren't living in South Barrington.
No. She was living with her mom in Norridge, and I was living in Des Plaines.
Okay. And then when did you guys get married?
We got married on October 5th, 1996.
Okay. And then at some point you made your way to South Barrington. Can you tell me about that? What happened? And like the decision to move out there and all that?
Well, my house was small, and we decided, well, my wife made a lot of decisions, so she decided she didn't want to be in a small house. You know, we were looking around for a number of different places, and finally found some property out in South Barrington. Decided to have a house built. And that was probably the beginning of a lot of our problems, having a house built.
Now, when you were in Des Plaines, did she move in with you, or did you?
Yeah, because we were married in 1996, we stayed in Des Plaines for about a year.
At your house?
Yeah, at the house I had in Des Plaines.
And when she brought up the idea of moving, or did she bring up the idea of moving? For a bigger house, like you were saying?
Well, we had discussed that way before
Okay.
we even got married. I mean, we decided, we needed a bigger house.
So you weren't against moving?
No.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier when you guys decided to build a house, that was kind of the beginning of were you guys, when you were first married, everything was good, or
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, when you're building a house, first of all, we hired my cousin to build the house.
What was that?
My cousin.
Okay.
And probably a mistake to hire a relative to do work. And so we got into it. Cost a lot of money, overruns in cost, and it was my cousin. My wife was very disappointed in the progress being made at the house, and rightfully so. And so there would, family is important to me. My cousin is important. I still love him, respect him. Was she right about them not being competent? The people he hired, I trusted my cousin. The people he hired, I'm not sure did. Let me see. I think they may have pulled the wool over his eyes, and by doing so, had cost overruns on our house, and it caused a lot of conflict between Cynthia and myself.
Calling it a conflict barely captures what was brewing between Frank and Cynthia, because what they were experiencing went far beyond just routine marital issues. The new house Frank casually mentions to detectives would later emerge as a central piece of everything that ultimately went wrong. But as he walks them through the details, the detectives would notice how he tries to soften certain edges and shape the story in a way that keeps the focus away from where it eventually leads.
And when you mean cost overruns, how much are you talking about?
Well,
I know a little bit might be okay. How much are you talking about?
Well, we're talking about a house that cost us $800,000 to build. Okay.
That was the final price?
That was right around the final price.
Okay.
When I unloaded it before I moved out, I lost about $150,000. So, yeah, there were cost overrides. Because how can you build a house for a relative or cousin and say, you can get your money back out of the house? And she priced houses around the area and said, you know what, this house is nowhere near that cost. And she was right. I mean, and I admitted it to her. I said, yeah, I know you're right. And we had a number of meetings with my cousin, and we discussed, all the details. And I said, they don't see it, that it's, it's our choices. We had granite countertops. We had beautiful wood floors. All these extras were something that added to the price of the house, according to my cousin. Well, we saw equivalent houses with the granite and the other things, and nowhere near that amount. So
it was more.
It was
more. He underpriced it, maybe.
I think he underpriced it, but I also think some of the men that he hired,
they may have taken advantage of
him. They worked over the winter, and I don't think they got much done. The progress, my wife caught them one time sleeping or making a little fire on the property, keeping themselves warm during the winter when they could have been working and getting something done, or go home and not charge anything, for their time. I think they charged us a lot of extra time that they did not achieve anything or accomplish anything. So
now, your cousin, was he the general contractor?
He was a general contractor.
So he didn't actually do any building himself?
Yeah,
or was he pitching in also?
He was pitching in also. He would actually come on weekends.
Really?
And work.
And help?
And help. And not put any extra charges on it. But
Yeah.
you can't compensate for the 3 people that are working full time when you're working just 1 day a week. So
Exactly.
How about he have his own company?
yeah, he still does.
Okay.
Yeah, Intimate Construction.
What did he primarily build? Like commercial, residential?
You know, yeah, mostly, white hen pantries. He did those type of things, and he did some houses, but nothing as big as ours.
So would you say that this was like his first go at a house that size?
Yeah, at the house's size, yeah.
He needed a lot of contractors beneath him, and he needed to control everything that was going on.
Yeah, and I don't think it was controlled quite properly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, there were price overruns. It caused a lot of conflict between my wife and myself. And, that was just the way things were.
Now, I saw on one of the reports that somebody, I think the building engineer from South Barrington said that the house was delayed for almost a year or something like that.
It was delayed to one spring because there was a lot of rain, and it was like this spring. Yeah, it was terrible.
Okay.
And so when we had the foundation there was a lot of flooding, and so the work couldn't proceed. And they were pumping the water out with a pump, like a sump pump, pumping it out. And there's still mud, and then we had. When they poured the foundation, they hired somebody who got a real good bid on the foundation, and there was one wall that cracked and had to be taken down and replaced and all kinds of crap.
So right from the beginning, huh?
Right from the get-go.
Trouble.
Right from the get-go.
Yeah. What, did you buy the property and there was nothing there?
We bought the property and there was nothing there. It was a nice piece of property. It was
vacant lot?
Yeah, it was kind of low and it needed a lot of fill, and we did bring in fill. We got some free fill from some places.
Mm-hmm.
The topsoil, I think we paid for some truckloads of topsoil, but the rest was mostly clay, free fill type stuff.
No good, right?
Yeah, it was no good, really.
No good for doing stuff like that, right?
Well, it was all right for the house. I mean, for you couldn't put a house in the clay foundation, so.
Now, when the house was being built, were you still living in Des Plaines?
Yeah.
Okay. A house, did you say you had there?
Yeah.
Okay. So, were you going back and forth, kind of keep an eye on the progress of the house? And Cynthia also?
Yeah. Yeah. So
maybe more her than you, maybe.
Her more than me, yeah.
Because you're working.
I'm working.
She's not really working besides doing the nutritional.
Yeah, she would do a nutritional consulting, and she didn't have a full contingent of clients,
right.
So she would work maybe 2-3 days a week.
Plus, you're building this house to be built around her business.
Right.
So she's really interested in this house and getting it built and getting it done as quick as she can and having it done right, because she's going to be bringing clients out that way, and she wants to impress everybody. And, so she wants to make sure that this house is pristine,
Right.
So the cousin starts building the house. The contractors, subcontractors that he's using, maybe not so great, huh?
Yeah, some of the guys, the carpentry, even the electrical people, the plumbing, oh my God.
Everything. Top to bottom, huh?
Top to bottom.
Sounds like the Money Pit, that movie. You remember that with Tom Hanks? When everything is just going wrong, falling apart. It sounds like that's what you're describing.
Yeah.
What Frank presents as a simple disagreement was anything but. He had hired his cousin for the construction of their house, but that decision quickly became a source of serious tension with consistent delays and poor workmanship. Cynthia believed the work was subpar, with costs spiraling nearly $200,000 over what was expected. Not only had Cynthia invested her own money into the project, but her mother had also extended Frank a substantial loan to help fund the build. Cynthia wasn't willing to let that money go to waste, but she wasn't aware of how deadly things were about to turn.
So, and then there's cost overruns, and now she's getting hacked off about that. It's not completely built. Now here you are making repairs on something that a brand new house,
And you mentioned electrical problems and
Yeah.
I saw something in a report about like a missing doorbell.
Yeah.
Probably just some of those things that would be just annoying.
You would think that they would put the wiring in for the doorbell to the inside of the kitchen so that we could have the, instead we ended up with, you can get a doorbell that's wireless, and that's what we had to end up doing. But
Geez, at a $800,000 house or whatever,
yeah.
you're putting in,
yeah,
you personally are putting in your own doorbell?
yeah,
No good, right?
no good.
Yeah. So, was he getting upset because she's kind of upset?
Oh yeah, I mean we had.
Were they going back and forth?
Oh yeah, and she wanted me to have a number of meetings with him, and we did have a number of meetings with him, and we had a mediator at one of these meetings from Willow Creek.
Do you know his name at all?
Oh, I forget the name, because we did have somebody from Willow Creek.
Philip?
Oh,
Maximoto?
Oh, no. Phil was a lawyer. He was not involved in the mediation.
Okay.
We had somebody from Willow Creek. Actually, I probably have some tapes of his. He did this Peacemakers thing from Willow Creek.
Did you guys go to church there?
Yeah.
He put out a video or something, right?
He did.
Yeah, I think
Great
I
guy.
remember reading that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where you guys went to church when you were there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were going to have him as a mediator. And did we go through that meeting? I think we did. And we were also going to Dr. Watson as his marriage counselor, because this was causing a lot of problems,
Man, it got that bad.
Yeah.
The problem with that is, your cousin, you're kind of getting stuck in the middle.
Yep.
She's yelling at you. You're trying to keep peace with him because you love him. It's your family. And things are getting kind of crazy, huh?
Pretty crazy. Mm-hmm.
So it got to the point to where you guys you needed some counseling.
Right.
Either through Willow Creek, and then you hit this guy in Hoffman Estates.
Yeah, and this.
Helping you guys.
Yeah, I think he was recommended from Willow Creek. Dr. Watson was.
Yeah.
And at first I didn't want to go, but after going to him, and I think it was the right choice for both of us.
Yeah. They had you guys writing letters to each other or something like that?
Yeah.
What was the deal on that?
Well, with Cynthia, everything I said, I felt like I needed a lawyer when I talked to my own wife.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you would say this, and then she'd keep track. And I said, you know what? Let's just write down, what we said and why we said it.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Watson was certainly in favor of me doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so actually the week that she died, we were scheduled to go in and talk to Dr. Watson that week.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my thing written out and was ready to respond to her questioning, and she had given me a list of questions and comments, and I responded in writing to them so that I could think about it rather than trying to respond out of emotion.
Right.
At the moment, I could think about what her questions were, respond to them in a calm and thoughtful manner rather than responding as a defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm. So these letters were written, I think Brian's got a copy of these letters. We'll take a look at those.
Yeah.
But they were written prior to the counseling?
Prior to the counseling.
Okay, not in the counseling session
No,
or something like that. No. Okay, you write a letter,
Yeah, she wrote me a
Was
letter.
that her suggestion? To write these letters or questions or whatever
I
it
think it
was?
was Dr. Watson, actually. I mean, I said, a lawyer to respond to you.
Did he feel that was going to be therapeutic for you guys? Or?
Yeah, he thought he was in favor of it, and I was actually looking forward to going to the meeting because I had all my responses written out and was ready to answer, her thoughts and her concerns.
Cynthia wanted to pursue legal action against Frank's cousin over the construction, but Frank resisted, apparently caught between his wife and his own family. Now, sitting across from detectives, he admits she may have been right. Friends later described arguments between the couple that went beyond words. Cynthia confided that Frank had threatened to kill her if she pushed forward with a lawsuit, even putting his hands around her neck during one confrontation. According to one of her friends, she began describing Frank as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. By the time of her death, those close to her said the situation had only gotten worse, with Cynthia describing the relationship as worse than ever just 1 week before she died. As Frank recalls the events of that night, he tries to fabricate a false narrative that would soon unravel.
So you guys make dinner,
Yeah.
and then what happens after that?
Play with it a little while, He was probably on the carpet playing with him, and I think she might have been on here. I usually played with it. And she would be in her office taking care of things for maybe her clients the next day or something like that. Because I usually took care of her on the weekends.
Did she have people come to the house?
Oh, yeah.
Even on weekends, too? Or did she
Sometimes,
save the weekends for family?
Sometimes on weekends. Yeah.
Do you remember if she had clients that weekend or no?
That weekend. I don't recall. Maybe on Saturday, but certainly not on Sunday.
Okay.
I don't recall.
So you guys make dinner. She's in the office, maybe?
Well, maybe.
You're playing with it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what happens?
Getting ready for bed. I mean, we had probably had dinner late. We usually had to leave dinner later in the evening. 7 o'clock maybe. Playing for a while, getting him ready for bed, getting him changed, ready for bed. Maybe did a little reading. I went to bed. I know I was watching some TV in bed, and she wanted to take the whirlpool.
Did she do that often?
Yeah, she did, and I turned down the water, heated water downstairs, and she'd turn it back up, so I was wondering whether she turned it up.
What happened?
She would take a whirlpool. I mean, she'd put straight hot water in there. I mean, she wouldn't mix it with cold water. I couldn't even take the heat that she would put in there. So, so I turned the heat and the hot water heater downstairs so it wasn't scalding hot. But that's the way she liked it because of her arthritis. She said it felt good for her joints and the pain.
Have you ever taken a whirlpool?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, together or just separate?
We took it together a few times, and I certainly...
I mean, to the point where you couldn't staying in there, or was it okay? Because the water was so hot.
Well, I'd have to have some cold water coming in before I go in.
All right, so she goes into Whirlpool.
Yeah.
And where are you at this time?
I'm in bed. I probably watching a little bit of TV. And then I turned the TV off. I had my book. We had an assignment in the Peacemakers, the book. Peacekeepers, I think it was. Peacemaker? Okay. And I was reading the book and put it down for a while and fell asleep.
Do you know about what time that was?
It was maybe between 10 and 10:30, somewhere around there. Because and work is the next day. And so I fell asleep there and didn't wake up until I heard crying for. which was about 2:30 in the morning or so, and I rolled over to, thought it was her turn to, take care of him, and, said, well, Cynthia, you want to go into, the other room and roll over, and she's not there. And then I hear the motor on the top of her going. I knew she was in there.
How did you know she was in there?
Well, the motor was going. It was like, oh no, so I got her face. And I knew she was dead.
How did you know?
Well, she wasn't breathing. She had been on there, and then I pulled her out of the tub over the side and onto the floor. And then I just left and went into the bedroom and made the call.
Do you know how long before the time you pulled her out of the tub till you called 911?
A matter of minutes, 5 minutes.
Okay. Could you kind of explain to me the layout of the tub? How does the bedroom,
Well,
where is the tub compared to the bedroom?
Well, the tub, the bedroom is here, and then there were two vanities. There was a door, 2 vanities, and then there was another door into the bathroom with the whirlpool tub. So she had closed the first door and the second door, and then she was in the tub, and of course you could hear it going from the bedroom. But the tub was a raised tub. It had one step there, and then there into the tub, and there was a window in the back overlooking the backyard. And then to the side, there was another entrance to the bathroom. There was actually a walk-in closet that was really, really long. It must have been about, it's probably 30 feet long, that stupid closet. There was a walk-in closet, and that door was closed, and the door into the bathroom, I don't know, was it open or closed? I don't recall. But there was another door, another entrance into the bathroom that way. So there are two entrances into the bathroom.
Well, did you say there's a door between the bedroom and the bathroom?
Yeah.
One door?
There's one door.
A regular door?
There's a regular door between the bedroom and the 2 vanities on one side. And then if somebody wanted privacy to be in the bathroom, one of us wanted privacy. There was another door that led into the bathroom.
Frank's version of events sound almost too clean, but the physical evidence from the scene painted a different picture. Responding officers noted that Frank's clothes were completely dry, which was unusual for someone who had just lifted a fully submerged body out of a filled tub. The area around the bath was also undisturbed, with no signs of the kind of movement you'd expect in a frantic rescue. But the most telling evidence of all was Cynthia's injuries: pre-bath bruises, abrasions, and over 15 on her body that didn't match an accidental fall or a quiet drowning. These details together start to tell a very different story, and as the interrogation unfolds, the inconsistencies in Frank's account would only become more prominent.
So you hear the tub running, you open the door.
The first door, yeah.
First door, you look in.
Yeah, then I had to open the second door to go into the bathroom. And I saw nothing but the scum layer on the top of with the water at the time when I walked in. And
was the tub filled to the top?
The tub was filled almost to the top, yeah.
When you first looked in?
When I first looked in.
And then you look in the tub?
I looked in the tub. I don't know whether I looked in the tub and didn't see her there. I might have looked in the tub and shut off the water and opened the drain, because I was told later on that the tub level was down and that there was 6 inches of water according to some radio report. Well, that wasn't so.
Radio report, what do you mean by that?
Well, the next day somebody told me, oh, we heard about it over the radio. Cynthia died and she drowned in 6 inches of water. And I said, no way.
Somebody heard that, or
Somebody
you
heard
that?
it. Somebody told me. They said they heard it. And I said, no way, because the tub was full, and I know for sure it was full.
So when you went in there, were the lights on in the bathroom?
Well, yeah.
Lights are still on?
Lights were on as far as I recall.
So you notice she's not in bed.
She's not.
You hear the tub running.
Yeah.
Door's closed.
Yeah.
Open the door. You go into the tub area, bathroom, and tub's still running.
Right.
Lights are on.
Right.
You look in the tub.
I
You see her?
didn't see her initially when I went in, no.
No.
Yeah.
And then you go to the tub. What happened then?
Well, it's a good question. I'm not quite sure of the details, whether I shut I reached in. I think I reached in and didn't feel anything initially, and probably shut the tub off.
Shut the tub off.
Yeah.
When you shut the tub off, then what happened?
Well, then I kept looking around, and I found Cynthia at the other end of the tub, not towards where the faucet was. There's a big tub, and she was over at the
How
other
big
end.
do you think it is?
Oh, I'd say it's about half this room over here, a corner half here.
Mm-hmm.
Big whirlpool tub.
I mean, to the point that she's under the water, can you see her or not see her?
If it was just water, you could see her, but there was a scum on top of the water that she apparently had vomited,
Mm-hmm.
and so I did not see her.
So then you reach into the tub,
I reached into the tub,
feel her.
you know,
You felt that she was in the tub?
Yeah.
Okay. Was she face up, face down? Do you remember?
she was definitely face up, and they told me that wasn't possible the last time I interviewed people, and I'm saying, no way, she was face up.
Face up in the
She
tub.
was face up. I saw her, I pulled her out, and she was face up.
Now the drain, where's the drain at?
The drain
Is it
was,
on the end of the tub? Middle of the tub?
I believe it was right near where the water was coming in. There was where the drain was.
Okay. So there's a spigot there
Yeah, spigot
where the
there.
water comes in.
Yeah.
Directly under the spigot, drain.
Yeah.
So not like the drain's at one end of the tub, like a regular tub, the drain's at one end, and then your head is at the other end.
Yeah.
So,
I'm pretty sure it was at the same end.
do you remember, okay, let's say this is the tub here. You walk into the bathroom. Do you remember if her head was to the left or to the right as you're looking at the tub?
Well, if I'm looking at the tub, the spigot's over here, and
To
she
the right?
was over
Okay.
to the left. So
Okay. So her head is on the left-hand side.
Hmm.
Is that by the drain or away from the drain?
well, I think it's away from the drain, because I think the spigot was over by the drain was over by the spigot, I believe.
So the spigot's in the middle of the tub.
I don't recall, but I think it was at the right hand side of the tub.
Okay. All right.
I
So you walk up to the tub. You don't see her.
don't see
You
it.
feel around. You
I
feel
was
her.
feeling around over at the right hand side of the tub, and didn't find her. So I like I say, I probably I don't remember shutting off the water, but I probably did.
The jets, right?
The-
But not the water coming out of the spigot. Was the water coming out?
Water was coming out of the spigot, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What do? Leave the water running while you're sitting in the tub?
I wouldn't have, no, but it was running at the time I went in there. It was running.
Oh.
The water was.
The water was, yeah.
Now let's see. You go to bed at 9:30, 10:30. Now it's 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
You think the water was running that whole time?
I think it
9:30,
was.
10:30, 11:30, 12:31. That's 5 hours.
I think it was running.
4 or 5 hours.
Would you think with construction and plumbing it would have flooded or something? Would have had some issues? No?
Overflow drains.
Was it working?
Yeah. Overflow drain was working. So it
Okay.
was probably in the overflow.
Okay.
Is that normal for her to do that? Leave the water running?
No, I would think she would have turned. Well, if she didn't have enough hot water, she would have let it run.
But if she let that run like that, your hot water tank would have diminished like quickly.
Yes.
That water would have been cold running out of that faucet if it's running that long.
Yep.
Did you notice if the water was cold, warm, hot?
I thought it was. I don't recall, but I don't recall it being cold. There is a heating element on the tub as well, though.
Oh, I
So
don't
when
know
it's
nothing
circulating, you got the heating element going as well.
that keeps it warm?
Yeah, so I
Okay,
don't know.
I don't know nothing about those tubs. So.
Yeah. I wish I didn't.
Okay, so you reach in,
Yeah.
you feel her. What happens then?
Well, then I pull her out of the tub.
How did you pull her out?
I went around the top of her waist, right under her arms, pulled her over to the side of the tub and onto the floor.
Face up, you're saying?
Face up toward me.
So now you got her, your arms underneath her,
Mhm.
supporting her.
Mhm.
And then when you pulled her up, was she face up?
Yeah, she was face up.
Okay.
This is where Frank's recollection takes an absurd turn. Just moments earlier, he was walking detectives through the events of the night with surprising clarity, recalling small, almost insignificant details without hesitation. But the second the questioning tightens, that clarity starts to slip, and he begins forgetting basic things. And right in the middle of that, Frank doubles down on another critical detail, insisting he found Cynthia face up in the tub. But the problem is, forensic findings had already ruled that possibility out, and so the detectives box him in over that detail.
This is roll 1-2. Pictures of the bathroom, which is in between the master bedroom and the whirlpool room. Is that correct? Right there? Okay. And I get another view just closer up of Cynthia's body.
Hey, Brian, do we have the pictures of injuries that were on her?
Yeah, I think
Let's
that's
go
what
to
it
those.
was.
Because those are the kind of pictures we just went over. Yeah. Let's go to those other ones, and then we can take a look at those. Are they in the book here somewhere?
Yeah. You got those there?
I'm not sure which ones. Which ones you take a look at? Yeah, you got it. You need some water?
Yeah, I could use a little water. Could I take a washroom break?
Yeah, you want to
Yeah.
take a couple of
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, real quick, and then we'll take a look at these.
Yeah, I'll get the photos ready for you.
Okay.
At this point, the detectives also stop entertaining the version Frank's trying to hold on to and begin pressing him more directly.
There's 3 medical examiners, which are all experts in the area of water-related death, along with 2 experts that are in the field of water death investigation, have all written opinions that's saying there's no other reason for this, what happened to Cynthia, other than a homicide and that she was forced into the water. We've, in the last 3 years, had 5 experts extensively. We've reconstructed the crime. And they all concluded and wrote opinions that led to the change of this to a homicide.
Frank, if you had something to do with this, you're going to have to let us know now. You know, just say you've been thinking about this thing for the past 13 years. So, we want you to tell us the truth and exactly what happened here.
We know that you're a good person, and we understand what was going on in the background, but I know it weighs on you, and you know what happened.
I've always wanted closure on this. Now, I can tell you one thing. My son one time came down to the kitchen and he opened the cabinet door, and he peed inside the cabinet. And I slapped him on the butt and sent him to bed and cleaned up. And the next day I asked him what happened, and he said, nothing. He said, I don't remember you slapping me on the butt. I don't remember doing that. The only way I could have done this would be that without any recall, because I don't recall anything. And that's the truth.
Frank, listen to me now. It's not like there's somebody snuck in the house and did this to her. You're the only one home.
Right.
Your son is way too young, So, I mean, everybody that we talked to in the recent past here has said that this is a homicide. No doubt about it. And, we believe that
Go ahead.
with all the stuff that's been going on here with the house problems and
Natural
everything
drowning,
like that,
if somebody passes out and just falls down in the water, they don't have 17 different injuries to their body. It just doesn't happen.
so legit, man, you gotta think. You think hard. There's no way, it's not like you dreamed this or anything like that, There's no way,
I have
You know what I'm saying?
no recall of anything there.
You gotta say something. You can't just say I had no recall. Plus with Bryant being there so fast, the water being low, looking at her body, she's dry. You're dry. She's dry. There's no water on the floor. The only indication that she was in the water, her hair was damp. There had to be some time between the time you pulled her out of this tub and put her on the floor that you called 911. It wasn't an instant thing like that. You didn't call 911 and 2 minutes later, he's there. First thing he noticed, everybody's dry. How does that happen? The lighting was, basically the way it is right here. So you're just one of those people that was put in a situation here. And did you mean to do this? Was this an intentional act? Did you plan it? That's what I want to know. Did you plan this for a month? You see these letters? Say, as soon as she gets into that tub, I'm putting her under, Did you plan this out?
No way.
Right. I don't believe that either. Unless you fool me and say, oh yeah, I plan to do this, Bob, I meant to do this for about 2 years now. And I finally had the opportunity. I mean, do you want it to be like that? Or do you want it to be a spur of the moment thing? Pushed her under the water, you didn't mean to do it. I mean, whatever your story is.
And you told someone the next day that you did it in a fit of rage.
Yeah.
You told someone the day after you were interviewed that you might have done it in a fit of rage. So you believe that it's possible.
I believed it was possible. I knew it was one of three things. It was either or an accident or I killed her. That was one of three things.
And the medical examiners that we went to, the three experts, including reconstructionists, all said, those first two, 0 chance.
Ruled them out.
There's nobody in the United States of America that has died with those two things that you're talking about. But that's not have a mark on the neck about someone forced her down. So there's a 0 chance, and number 3 is the only possibility. It's 100% certain that that's what happened.
That's why they got the death certificate as a homicide. There's no accident here. Top pathologist in Cook County, Illinois, ruled this a homicide. The #1 person that does autopsies all day long. That's what they do.
The detectives have brought up the one thing Frank's story can't explain away: the reenactments. Years after Cynthia's death, multiple forensic specialists recreated the scene, and those detailed forensic analyses became the primary reason why the case had been reopened. Their conclusion was clear: this was no accident. It couldn't have happened without someone forcing her under. Now, for the first time, Frank isn't being asked what happened. He's being asked if he did it. And with everything laid out in front of him, he refuses to cooperate anymore, now stepping onto much weaker ground.
Okay, you want to keep on talking to us?
Not really.
What does that mean?
I mean, I don't see where, this is going to go. If you're going to file charges against me, you need to do so. And then we'll take it from there, because I don't know what else I can say. I mean,
well, I don't know. Maybe we just
you're going to keep questioning me about what I remember. I've told you what I remember.
Frank, really quick, just if I could, you have to use the washroom just a minute ago,
Yes.
and then Bob took you down there,
Yeah.
and then the sheriff brought you back.
Yeah.
And nobody talked about the case when you were on your way over there, right?
No.
Okay, just want to make sure. Okay.
Well, I don't know, maybe we could explain more things to you, or maybe you can explain more things to us. But maybe we should keep on talking. It's up to you. I particularly don't believe that you have this lapse of memory, that you don't believe, you can't remember. My opinion is, I think you're lying about that part. So, and I don't want to keep on going round and round with you and stuff like that.
You have sodium pentothal.
No, I don't have nothing like that.
I mean,
I know.
I'm willing to take a lie detector or sodium pentothal, but you wouldn't get anything more.
Okay.
Okay?
But listen to this. Listen to this now, Frank. You're the only guy there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You, Cynthia, and your son.
Right.
Your son is 1 year old at that time.
Yeah.
There's nobody else that could do anything like this. There was a struggle. With the injuries on her, you could tell that there was a struggle. Struggle didn't last that long. She's only 90 pounds, soaking wet, as you know.
Yeah.
You're the one that pulled her out of the tub. You know how heavy she is.
It doesn't take long to drown somebody.
It just happened, This wasn't a planned out thing. We don't believe it was a planned out thing. Unless you tell us, okay, I planned this for 2 days, But it wasn't a planned out thing. You put a moment.
No. And you agree with us, what we're looking at is a homicide. You said it in 2000, and I think you said it earlier today, right?
Sure looks that way.
So if obviously I didn't do it, and nobody broke in your house, who would be that person that would have committed that?
It's Frank. There's no other person. You're the guy, Frank.
To a reasonable person, who would you think did it? There's no other possible person on this earth.
Okay. We've established that it's probably me, but what does it, what else?
Well, not probably. It is you. Now, whether you remember it or not, that's the question. And my feeling is, particularly, and Brian too, is we just believe that you set everything up until the point where this happened.
Well,
then all of a sudden, you don't remember anything. And then your memory comes back after that point. Anybody that looks at this like we're looking at it, because we got to report back to what happened here. So I don't care who we tell the story to. If we tell a story, I don't care who it is, they're going to be like, no way. No way. Talk to him again, That's what people are saying now. In all those reports, all the interviews he did. People are saying, we believe Frank had something to do with this. Everybody, without knowing all the facts. We don't tell these people the facts. So we get all the reports, and we let the people tell it just the way it is. Everybody we talk to, including the counselor, the people at Willow Church, Willow Creek, they're all saying, oh man, I think, Frank.
They all gathered in a different room at the wake and had a meeting talking about the possibility of you killing your wife. And you know what? They were right. You did. I think examining and being there on that day in these 13 years, I know for certainty that it happened. There's nothing that points to anybody else in this world, living or dead, that committed this homicide other than you. There's nobody else. There's no other reason. There's nobody to do it.
I mean, what do you want me to say?
Just say what happened. That's what I want you to say.
Nothing to my knowledge.
Frank, come on.
It's not nothing.
Okay.
Cynthia died.
Frank,
You
come
know
on.
what? We're over. We're done.
What? What do you mean?
We're done with this interview. Now you can either charge me, lock me up. I want a lawyer in the room with me from this point on.
Okay.
I mean,
All right. No, we're done. It's okay.
And just like that, the hours-long interrogation comes to an end without any confessions. But the inconsistencies and slip-ups in Frank's interrogation were enough for the authorities to move forward with the next step, turning a 13-year-old mystery into a first-degree murder charge against Frank Buschauer. During the trial, prosecutors pointed to the lies in Frank's story, while the defense argued there was no definitive proof of homicide. Whether the death was a premeditated murder, an accidental drowning, or even a homicide that was not pre-planned was heavily debated. In the end, however, the jury found Frank guilty, and he was ultimately sentenced to 25 years in prison. Our thoughts are with the loved ones of Cynthia Hrisco. Thank you for watching today's video. Whether you're new here or have been with us for a while, check out one of the craziest cases I've ever covered right here, or one of my newest uploads right here.